Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you with me here today. Looking forward to getting our week started off right with our Mindset and Motivation Monday, one of my favorite podcasts of the week to record, because just like anyone out there, I need the same advice, I need the same information, and I need to repeat it almost day in and day out. And the reason is that we are not static human beings. We are people moving through this journey in life. Sometimes it's a crazy journey. Sometimes there are highs. Sometimes there are lows. We're going to experience it all in life. My goal for you is not to experience the happiness, not to experience the sadness. I want you to experience the full spectrum of emotions. There's no doubt about that. But what I want you to do is on a daily basis, be able to bring it back to a point of happiness, to be able to feel relaxed, to be able to feel calm and have that centered energy, which I want everyone to enjoy in life. And I have no doubt that no matter where you are right now, you can enjoy that same emotional well-being for yourself. Now, part of this has to do with physical well-being, because remember that our bodies influence our brain. We call it the physiology affecting our psychology. That means our body systems affect the way that we think. And that, of course, has to do with our emotions. One of the token analogies that's thrown around quite often is that the happy, feel-good neurotransmitter that we produce called serotonin is manufactured in the gut. So we take in tryptophan. We create something called 5-hydroxytryptophan. We use vitamin B6 and other cofactors such as selenium to change this into serotonin. That serotonin lights up our body. We feel energized. We feel relaxed. We feel calm. We feel happy. And we feel engaged. That is the great thing about our neurochemicals that are produced in our body. But at the flip side, if we have too much stress in our life, for too long, we begin to burn out. Now, it's not just work, life, relationships, not just that causes stress. So that's a form of stress. But in functional medicine, we learn that GI issues, that means gut-based issues, digestive issues, bloating, gas, candida overgrowth, SIBO, parasites, H. pylori, IBS, IBD, Crohn's, colitis, you name it, any one of those things is also a stressor in the body. Immune imbalance, like viruses or autoimmune-based issues, that's a stressor in the body. Any type of inflammatory-based issues or pain, that's a stressor in the body. Heavy metals or total body burden, meaning a lot of toxicity. If you haven't not taken your total toxic load yet, meaning that your quiz to see how toxic your body is, I can't recommend enough. Just heading over to stephencabral.com/podcast and just typing in toxicity quiz at the search bar. Easy to do, easy to look at. What I want to do today is not say where your stress is coming from, but I want to really provide you with the 7 physical signs of burning out and how to catch it before it's too late. Meaning like really before you end up like I did at 17 years old with Addison's disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, myalgic encephalomyelitis. So I want to help you before you get to that point, and I hope that you never do. Now, even if you're there, there is hope. I'm completely well to this day. I'm healthier now than I have been at any point ever in my life. That means as a child, that means as a teenager, any point ever. In my 20s, I'm healthier than all of that. There's no doubt about it. What I want you to think about is this. I don't want your rain barrel to overflow before you do anything to begin to empty it. That's how most of us operate. Now, we operate that way, not because we want to, but because it does not become a priority, because there are things that are a higher priority before we start to get sick or we start to get run down or we start to gain the weight. So what happens is we just kind of shift priorities around. Whatever's screaming the loudest gets our attention. But what I would like you to do is understand that if you take care of this body, You can literally do anything you want with your life. But if you don't have the energy in both body and brain, one or the other, you're not going to be able to live your best life. You're not going to be able to do all of the things, all of the goals that you've set for yourself, all of the dreams that you have. It's going to be harder to accomplish those with no vitality, with no energy. So what I want to do today is simply take you through 7 signs that I've seen in my practice and in my own life previously that have led me to realizing that these are true signs of the body burning out. So could you run a lab test? Sure. That's great. But in conjunction with just becoming more self-aware that I always talk about on these Mindset and Motivation Mondays. So sure, run the thyroid adrenal hormone test, run the hair tissue mineral analysis. It will give you the gauge of where you're at in terms of fatigue, burning out, HPA axis dysfunction. There's no doubt about that. Look at your adrenals. We'll look at your hormones, estrogen balance, testosterone, DHEA, cortisol throughout the day, thyroid, all of that. They're great. But let's talk about what about in life on a day-to-day basis. I was literally just working with an Olympic athlete this morning. And I never name names. People ask me all the time, tell me the celebrities you work with, tell me the athletes, all of that. It's not about that. You have to understand is like, for me, it was. If you saw my websites, they're no longer there, but if you saw my websites when I was in my 20s, you would see the celebrities I work with. You would see all the different things that I've done. But now, more than ever, it's that if you don't resonate with the words that I'm saying and the things that I'm trying to teach, me showing you that I work with a celebrity or an professional athlete or Olympic athlete should not be the thing that puts you over the edge. It should be about the information. If the information is correct, then you can act on it. Not because some celebrity did it, because they're no different than you. They're just a higher profile because they're more recognized. That's it. I actually asked them these questions. I'm going to go through it right now with you. So instead of me telling a long story, let me show you exactly what I did. So number 1 is this, okay? If you find yourself in the morning reaching for the snooze button, that is your first sign, or it's a sign. These are no order of importance. But it's a sign that your body may not be producing enough cortisol when you begin to wake up. Why is that a problem? Well, that's the start to what we call tired and wired. A lot of people start to have more energy later in the day and less in the beginning of the day, when it should be the exact opposite. You should have your highest cortisol around 6 a.m., 6 to 8 a.m. All right, it's going to start to rise around 4 a.m. It really rise with thyroid. And then around 6 a.m., 8 a.m., you're going to have your highest point. Well, if you're not getting a good rise in cortisol, if your body's not waking you up naturally, now maybe you're just not getting enough sleep. Maybe you're getting less than your 7.5, 8 hours minimum of sleep per night. Because remember, we're all super busy. If we were meditating all day, doing float tanks and hatha yoga and practicing with acupuncture and working on our diaphragmatic breathing, we might only need 6-7 hours of sleep. But we're not, right? All of us run fast-paced lives. And because we do, we need more rest. There's no other way around it. The harder you go, the harder you need to sleep, or the softer you need to sleep, however you want to look at it. That's why I tell people, if you don't have 12 hours of downtime, you are going to be breaking down more than you're building back up, especially for that ectomorphic body type or that Vata-based body type. So remember, if you don't turn off the jets at 7 p.m. at night, but you start your day going at 7 a.m., well, you're not getting enough parasympathetic activity. And that's the rejuvenation, right? That is how you repair your body. So you might start to feel that by reaching for the snooze button, your body is tired. And if it's not producing enough cortisol in the morning, most likely that testosterone is going to be a little bit lower for men and women. And we want that. DHEA might be a little bit lower. What about progesterone in women? Could be, especially if there's more stress. So that's the first sign I want you to know. If you want to hit that snooze button, especially multiple times, we need to make sure that we either just get out of the habit or we have to start to look. That could be a sign we're not getting enough recovery. All right. Number 2 is this, that you feel like you could basically sleep at any time during the day, or you just feel like it's never enough sleep. So that means you're tired, or you can take a nap at any point during the day. If you feel that way, your body's not producing most likely enough of cortisol. Now, we think of cortisol as a bad thing, and I get that. Too much cortisol, I see that a lot in my practice as well. That is bad. Not enough cortisol, that's just as bad. Think about walking around every day of your life with flu-like symptoms, barely keep your eyes open, and you're literally thinking about every step you take. That's how tired you are. That's what it's like to be someone who has ME or myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's that bad. It is literally that bad. I remember back in the day, I'm having dinner with my family, people are having conversations, and I would say nothing. It's not that I didn't want to say anything, because I can talk a mile a minute, and I have always enjoyed speaking. But when I was in that state, there was nothing left. And so by the time I was getting ready to put my thoughts together, because it's such bad, debilitating brain fog, and I would go to speak, the conversation had already moved forward. And the other thing is this, that even me speaking, I knew that would take effort and that would drain my body even more. Now, again, most people are not at that level, but I never want you to even think about being at that level of having the flu-like symptoms that your whole body aches, okay? So if you start to feel like you could sleep at any time of the day, nap at any time of the day, you need more rest. And remember, just this past Thursday, actually 2 weeks ago now, so about a week and a half ago, I did a show on the parasympathetic nervous system, and I would love you to check out that show as well. By the end of the show, I'll make sure that I get links for all of those, because I just think it's important to be able to go back and really look at previous podcasts that go more in depth on how to heal the body from a parasympathetic nervous system based perspective. But today, we want to give you the knowledge, the know-how, and then begin to move forward on it. So that's really what it's all about. So we'll go back to that in a moment. But really, if you need to rest more, if you can take an afternoon nap, great. If not, reduce your output and increase your input, meaning reduce your energy output and increase the amount of energy you take into the body. Okay, and I go into that on that previous show. So I will talk about that in a moment. Okay. Next one, number 3 is this, and this was a dead giveaway. I didn't know about this little, sign and symptom until a few years back, and then it hit me. When myself and a lot of other people, we start to push it a little bit too much, one of the first signs is this. Your feet start to get tired and ache. Now, people might say, my feet have always ached. Well, maybe you've always been pushing it for a bit too long. I've seen this in a lot of people and myself as well. Now, my brain might still be going. I might still be amped up. I might be ready to go. But by the end of the day or midday, my feet are already a little tired and are already a little achy, and I want to sit down. I want to get the weight off my feet, right? Well, unless you've walked 18,000 steps that day, you've done a lot of walking, that aching feet is a really good first sign. We know this from traditional Chinese medicine and the marma points in Ayurvedic medicine. That is the nervous system essentially burning out, the nervous system on its last leg, no pun intended. And the reason is this, is that now with foot reflexology, you don't have to believe that all of your nerves ground out at your feet. That's okay. You don't have to believe that. But what I do want you to believe, because it's scientific fact, is that a lot of the proprioceptors, they're on the hands and they're on the feet. Now that means they take in a lot of input. Would it make sense to you that the whole body, the nervous system, which takes in the input, is getting overwhelmed? In my opinion, yes. And one of those first signs is aching or tired feet. Okay, number 4 is this. A lack of mental energy, not physical energy, but mental energy to motivate yourself to do anything that requires thinking or basically any extra effort. So if during your day you're like, I don't want to do that because it will take this, this, and this. So meaning like if you find yourself just going through the basics, just doing the minimal amount of output, you're burning yourself out. There's no doubt about that. It simply means that you're overwhelmed. And it always goes back to the nervous system. And that means input. It's called the peripheral nervous system. It's all the input that the body feels it's taking in. Again, it can be imaginary, but our brains perceive it as stress. And then it hits our central nervous system and our autonomic nervous system, and that turns on either fight or flight or the rest, relax, digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system, how to really engage that is on episode, before I forget to tell you, 1119. So just head on over to stephencabral.com/1119 after today's show. And today's show is episode 1130. I love that as a first sign. I in roundabout kind of ways, my health coaches and myself, if we're on a call with someone, we're always asking like, hey, what do you have going on right now for hobbies? We talk about exercise. If we don't see anything, we just say, we'll eventually ask them, do you feel overwhelmed right now? Do you feel kind of like you're already at your max? And if people say yes, then we know that they've been pushing it too long and too hard to the limit. You should get excited mentally about being able to take on new projects in life, to be able to meet new people, to be able to go out there and learn new things and to take on new activities and hobbies. So if you don't have that, then you have more towards the spectrum of brain fog, potentially not clear thinking, but really an overwhelmed and exhausted nervous system. Number 5 is this. If you're exercising, and again, this was a big one today when I was speaking with the Olympic athlete, is that their strength is starting to decrease in the gym. So their squat, their deadlift, their presses, their pulls, all of those movements, they're not making any more progress. And if anything, they see themselves declining a little bit. At that point, and I talked because their coach was on the phone as well, you don't need to do more. You actually need to do less. And I know it's the strangest thing because you say, no, I just need to push harder. No, it's the exact opposite. You've been pushing too hard for too long. Now, this Olympic athlete is in their mid-20s, but I've trained Olympic hopefuls before. And Olympic hopefuls start when they're 13, 14 years old, if you can believe it or not. And then they go to specialized training camps for a couple of years to get them ready. I mean, this is how intense it is. So they're basically doing schoolwork and they're training 2-3 times a day. And one of these athletes that I worked before, right outside of Boston, was Olympic hopeful in swimming. And she's a teenager. She's 16 when I met with her. She's going to bed around 11, 12 at night, waking up at 4:35 to get in the pool by 6. It was insane. All the schoolwork, all the training, and her times are starting to go down. She was starting not to even love her sport anymore. I'll be talking about that in a moment. You have to understand, doing more when you're already pushing, you've already been at it, is not the answer. Periodize your training. Take down some of the stress. I love exercise like the next person. But if you push too long for too hard without any unloading weeks, and again, I've talked about this before on previous Training Thursdays, and I hope that you tune back into those shows, then you're going to eventually start to crash. Too much repetitive motion damage, too much burning out. It simply means you need some lighter weeks. And typically we build those into our clients' programs every 4 to 6 weeks. Unloading week, and then we start to ramp back up, and come back down again, ramp back up. So it's a nice way of doing it that allows you to you push yourself to the limit, but then after that, like in this, talking with the athlete, is that after you compete in a tournament, it's like running a marathon. Don't get back into running the next day. Give yourself off 4 or 5 days or a week to recuperate, recover, massage, stretching, whatever you're into, whatever you do, again, from that episode 1119, where most of them are free to be able to rebalance that body. Okay, number 6 is this. We've got 2 more to go. More apathetic, which means essentially not a lot of emotion. You kind of feel flat. You just don't have a lot of interest in life. So it's beyond just like the mental energy of wanting to, take on new projects, because you feel overwhelmed. You're doing too much as it is. But apathy is when you don't care. You just don't care. You don't care if you get well. You don't care if you stay sick. You don't care if you ever lose the weight. You don't care if you ever find the right person. You don't care if you ever improve your relationship. That's apathy. You're apathetic. And that comes from being, again, overwhelmed and dealing with too much stress for too long. It's a sure sign. That does not happen overnight. That happens over time with chronic-based stress. It's a sure sign that if you're not already burnt out, you're burning out right now. It's a red flag. All of these are red flags. When you see the red flag, don't push through it. I know that you can push through it. A lot of people that listen to this show, they are real life warriors. They are people that are dealing with a lot of stresses in their life, and they will push through anything. If they didn't get enough sleep, they'll still wake up early and push it at the gym. They'll push through their workday. They'll come home. They'll take care of their family. They'll deal with more work stuff after dinner. They'll get a lack of sleep. They'll do it all. But I'm telling you right now, to the detriment of yourself. And it doesn't happen any one day or 1 week. It happens over a period of months. So, because again, I'm guilty. There will be something where I have deadlines or I'm traveling, I'm speaking, I have an early flight at 6:30 a.m. and I have to be to the airport at 4:30 a.m., which means I'm waking up at 3:30 a.m., something crazy to get to the airport. So you have to understand is that it happens to all of us. We just can't let it accumulate. That's why when I spoke about this term, the rain barrel effect, I mean it. It's in all areas of our life. And stress is one of those. Toxins is one of those. It's like too many cheat meals or flex meals in a row. It's those. It's filling up the rain barrel. But when you've already filled it up, it has nowhere to go. You can't take on anymore. And at that point that you get the dis-ease in the body, the dis-ease in the brain, that's when you feel the symptoms. But they've been growing all along. They've been filling up all along. For me, it was massive amounts of stress in high school and then applying to colleges and wanting to ace my SATs and be the perfectionist. I was working a job at the time. I was doing martial arts. I was doing 3 sports in high school. I was trying to do it all. And then I was on antibiotics twice a day for 3 years, 3,000 capsules of amoxicillin. And my body finally gave out and I crashed. Should I have seen it coming? Sure. How do you know that as a 17-year-old? How do you know that as a 47-year-old? You don't? Because they don't teach this. For whatever reason, we have this really backwards curriculum throughout grade school, high school, college. And I'll tell you, unless you're studying to be a naturopathic doctor or a lot of chiropractic schools will teach you this. But unless you're studying that, you'll never get the information. So that's the thing. That's why I do this podcast, because there's just no other way to get the information. I wish I had it. I wish I had it back then. But, we can't look back. We can only say listen, this obviously taught me something. I choose to look at it as everything happens for a reason. I choose to look at it as that this is part of my path, my journey. But everything might happen for a reason. Maybe that helps you get through the day. But also, you don't need to repeat the mistakes of the past. So I've learned my lesson. I'm not going back. I don't need to be taught any more lessons. I don't want to be taught any more lessons. I know that I will be in life, I'm sure. But what I need to do is now learn from those. I have the education. I'm trying to pass it on others, but I need to live it myself. If I feel these things creeping in myself, I need to pull back in my own life. And I do that all the time. I push it to the limit. Don't believe that I don't. I'm like any person out there, but I know my limit now. I look for these red flags and then I start to pull back. Here's the last one. A lot of people out there right now tell me that they only have about 2 to 3 good hours a day. So that means you can make it through the day. You can make it through the motions. You might even go to the gym, but you only feel good for about 2 to 3 hours a day. And it's typically not when you wake up. It's like mid-morning, somewhere between maybe like mid-morning and lunch. And then after that, you crash again. That's a sure sign of digestive weakness, poor absorption, malnourishment, meaning that your gut's not absorbing as many nutrients as it could and should be, or really dysfunctional HPA axis, or adrenal-based function. That means that you might not be producing enough cortisol at the proper times and that your body could be burning out. Electrolyte deficiency could be so many different things. This is why we do functional medicine lab testing, so that you can run the Big Five, or you can run at least the starter kit, which is the organic acids test and the hair tissue mineral analysis. Add a thyroid adrenal hormone to that, and you'll have so much information that you can use to figure out what's going on inside your body. Here's the unfortunate thing. We can't look inside of our body. There's nothing that we can do. But what we can do, and that's why I'm teaching this today, is we can begin to look at the overt symptoms. Not only are these the symptoms of really beginning to snowball into a lack of energy, a lack of vitality and ambition and drive, but it's what ages the body at a rapid rate. It's why people say, all of a sudden, the past couple of years, I feel like I've really been aging. Sure. It's because of an increase in output, so too much stress on the body, output in the nervous system, but also you begin to deplete yourself of your vitamins, of your minerals, of your amino acids, and you start to strip away all of the nutrients that your body holds to keep up with the pace that you're going at. So I hope that this was helpful today. What I wanted to do is just give you those 7 physical signs of burning out to be able to catch it before it really becomes a huge issue. And then what you can start to do now is to incorporate more rejuvenating activities. And I left that for you on episode 1119. Always happy to help in any way that I can. Feel free to reach out. Let me know how I can. My team can over at cabralsupportgroup.com, or even just shoot me a note over on Instagram as well. Leave a comment if you found this show was helpful. And as always, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anyone else you believe it could serve. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.